Hey guys, Brian O'Day, Executive Director of the Praetorian Project, and I am joined today with Ted Vinatieri, one of the pastors of Pillar Church of Stafford, and Joy Rogers, who is also a member at Pillar Church of Stafford. Today, we're going to talk about something that's not explicitly what we do as a Praetorian Project, but it is very much something that we desire to do as churches, and really all churches are doing this, loving our neighbor as ourselves, right? So just to set this conversation up a little bit, back in August, a huge news story that probably everyone was aware of was the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. A secondary story that also got a lot of attention was that the reality that many of these Afghans were coming to America, and many of these were our friends that we had been with in the years in Afghanistan, and they were coming to the United States. And the way the news cycle works is many of us have moved on with our lives and regrettably forgot about some of these things. But two of our churches up in Northern Virginia have really continued to try to befriend the Afghans who have come into their community. So I just wanted to talk to Joy and Ted about that. So Joy, why don't you start us off and tell us how we got to where we are, kind of maybe start back in August, September timeframe.
Yeah, absolutely. So back in August, the news hit, and being part of heavy military communities, everyone was very much paying very close attention to what was happening and very much wanting to help, knowing that the area that we are in, Northern Virginia, actually has one of the highest Afghan populations in the country already, even before August happened. And so we were just kind of keeping our eyes and ears open for where are these people, when are they coming, how are they gonna start a whole new life here. And through some incredible God only stories, we ended up finding out that we were going to have thousands of Afghans in our backyard right here at Marine Corps Base Quantico. And even then, it seemed like we weren't going to have an access point to be able to engage with them when they got here on the base. And then again, God just worked through some connections and allowed us to be able to start serving on the base at the camp, and to be able to help teach English and spend time with kids and all that. And so the church really started with Pillar Dumfries because Stafford had just been planted. And so got a little bit from Stafford as well and started hopping in there and just trying to get a sense of who are these people and what are they going through and how can we serve them. And from that, we basically served on the camp from August, well, really September until about December when it closed. And that whole time, knowing that a large population of the Afghans, whether they're at the camp in Quantico or another camp in a different part of the country, were going to be settling in our area. And so God really brought the nations to our backyard. And so we kind of knew that going in, and we're thinking long term, okay, how do we find these people once they're out of the camp and they're in, our neck of the woods? And so it started a conversation of, okay, how do we find them once they're resettled and trying to start over. So that's kind of how we got to this point where we're engaging on this side. I'll pause there just to.
Yeah, that's good. So you said one point that I think is important as well. So Pillar Dumfries, very engaged in this. I know you're both at Pillar Stafford, but Pillar Dumfries very engaged in this. But Ted, you're one of the planting pastors of Pillar Stafford. You guys launched August 1st. And then just started to get involved in this very early on in the church plant. What was that like for the church to jump into mission right away as a church?
Well, as God always does, his timing is just right. Timing doesn't always seem the same to us, but we just saw this and said, hey, these are people that, for whom Christ has died. There are people in every kindred, tongue, tribe, and nation. And so our goal was just to say, Lord, how can we meet these people who need a savior? And so it was kind of exciting for the people, actually. Joy got very involved with it and kind of was an anchor person for both congregations. And we're really thankful for the work God used through her. We also connected with Send Relief, and they've given lots of resources, materials, information. Most recently, they've helped us with ESL class training. So we're real thankful for the work that Send Relief does. But just as a church grassroots, we started praying, just saying, hey, these people are in our backyard and we need to meet them. They need a savior. So our people were just kind of excited about that. And we started on our church center app, we started a group, and we had like 43 people from our church sign up saying, yeah, okay, let me know what I can do. So we just started there, and we started giving supplies, asked people to bring paper towels, toilet paper, soap products, things that the SNAP card cannot provide for them. They don't have much cash, and we can meet these people's needs this way. So our people just really hunkered down and started bringing. It was really nice. In fact, what you see behind me is just a little segment of a 24 by 24 room that we call our boutique. We kind of in quotes, and it's just full of nicely, gently used clothing, a lot of clothing items from Walmart that they've given to us from surplus, tons of new things, shoes, clothes that Walmart has made available for us. So it just kind of has grown and been really, really sweet.
Wow, that's really cool. Really good to see just that partnership with two churches, Send Relief, even Walmart in town, and just the community coming around to try to help in these efforts. Joy, what are some of the biggest needs now? So we're what, 8-9 months from a lot of these folks coming to the States. What are some of their biggest needs that they need assistance with now?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's very interesting. You'll have people that we have some Afghan families that have, really great English speakers in their family, and a good chunk of them had incredibly successful careers back in Afghanistan. And so they've come here, they've spent about 3 or 4 months in a camp in which they're just waiting to get processed. Camp life is not exactly easy. It's pretty rough conditions depending on which military base you were at.
Yeah, can I stop you for just a second? So the camps were literally a big open grass field that the military set up tents and other amenities, but they were not in a 5-star hotel or anything like that. When you say camp, you mean a big open field with tents in it that the military.
Something like that. I will say, I only experienced the aspect of Marine Corps Base Quantico, and they were able to use some already existing structures to kind of help people. But it was quite the operation to stand those up overnight. So there were 9 or 7, now I can't remember, different camps at different military bases all across the country. And so, you talk to any Afghan that came through, first question is, what camp were you at? Which military base did you experience? Some of them were at Holloman Air Force Base, which made me laugh. One of the families said that, so that it reminded them of Afghanistan, because it was out in the middle of nowhere from where they were from. So the families they're all, they're from different walks of life, just as you would imagine any of us, if we were put in the same situation, you'd have people with different career fields and different levels of understanding of English and education and all of those things. And so it's really interesting because every family is a little bit different with their top needs. The biggest thing, most of them at this point are at a place where they're in the country under a certain status. They have some basic government benefits that the government has, allowed for them to receive. So like food stamps, what we call SNAP now, some other cash assistance that just helps them get on their feet. Most of them had hours to get to the airport, to get out. And so they maybe came with 2 articles of clothing and left literally everything. And you talk to some of these families and they had huge houses, and it'd be like your average American family basically saying, everything I've ever worked for and had and built up from my family is gone. I'm just now, and most of them didn't necessarily have access to their funds either. And so they're really here with nothing. And so most of them have gotten at a place where they're receiving enough to sustain themselves. And we kind of started off at the beginning really trying to meet basic needs. So one thing that we've done is kind of create a model for, okay, how do we assist these people in the best way and help set them up for success to start their lives here. So one way of doing that, there's a book called When Helping Hurts, and I really used it as a model to kind of help, how do we do this right? I don't want to hurt them by just giving everything. But so you kind of look at it in a couple different stages. So initially, there's the relief stage in which you try to meet basic emergency needs, which is like, do you have food this weekend? Like we had families that couldn't get to the grocery store, didn't have any money for food, their SNAP card weren't working. And so those things are, okay, yeah, we're going to drop everything and go meet those needs first. Make sure their benefits are kicked in. And then the second stage, really where most of our families are now, is what the book really identifies as rehabilitation. So it's the idea that we help them understand American processes enough to get them back to a place where they are living and thriving just as they were back in Afghanistan, but here, in whatever that looks like. So that is everything from helping people practice driving. Ted is actually the bravest of us all. He was the first one to take out one of our Afghan friends driving in Northern Virginia in his own van. And, he's an excellent teacher and I've heard amazing things. I just loved that Ted was the first one to do that and was very brave with that. So it's driving, it's helping them just understand, paperwork and timelines and deadlines and interviews and how to prep for an interview. And, then it kind of goes into English, obviously, is a huge aspect of that, which Ted can talk more about our ESL program that we started at Stafford. And the engagement looks different. Really, the idea is to come alongside as friends and just walk through life with them, and then help them navigate processes that we have grown accustomed to, that we have grown up with, that are easy for us, but are completely contrary to the system that they came from. Right. And so those are, I would say, that's a general summary of what their biggest.
That's great. That's very helpful. Yeah, that's good. Ted, just I'd love to hear any God stories. How have you seen God at work in this effort over the past few months?
Well, wow. Where can we begin? Yeah, tons of stuff. One of the things I might mention just to begin with is that these people have gone through suffering that is different than the kind of suffering that we're going to have as Americans. Right. Some of them, every day they're on WhatsApp or they're on texting with their relatives back in Afghanistan. One of the couples that I was out driving around with one day, he pulls over real quickly and he goes, oh, and he's looking on his phone, and it was a relative saying, Taliban is coming in our area of our city, and they are just looking for everybody who had any connections at all with American forces. So he had to immediately call one of his relatives and have them destroy all kinds of things that he had to leave behind in his home, go bury them, go destroy them. And he says, we hope nobody knows where we are here in America. Some of these people have sensitive backgrounds in intelligence and so forth. And they're just all sorts of different situations that people have. And you just confront them with, hey, do you need some toilet paper and paper towels and soap? And can we have you come to an ESL class? And they look at you and they smile. But underneath that smile is really hours and days of hurt and tears, a lot of sadness, loneliness, like Joy said, people just leaving everything. Most of the people did not even bring their important papers, their certificates of graduation from high school and colleges, their universities. They have nothing. They can't get their transcripts. So we're here trying to help them just find work and GED classes. And so it's just amazing the suffering that people are experiencing. And now we're seeing a lot of stress on families, unhappiness going on between husbands and wives. I've kind of sweetly intervened in a couple of situations. Anyway, there's just that whole range of things. So what do? Like Joy said, we don't want to hurt. So we really hold back on giving cash assistance at all unless there's a real unique situation. Most of these people did resettle with an agency, whether it was Lutheran Services, Catholic Social Services, some other resettlement agency that the federal government gave money to. So the people had their initial housing covered. They got them their EBT, their Medicaid, and those sorts of things. But there, like Joyce said, there's just so many cracks that people slip through with issues. Transportation, getting job. You can't get a job if you don't have English. Well, how do you get to an English class? Well, you go online, and the online classes are so confusing that many of the people just walk away from it. We've heard all kinds of stories. So our goal has been, Colossians 1, God has, 2 Corinthians 5 and Colossians 1, that we're committed this ministry of reconciliation, and that Christ is in the world reconciling the world back to himself. You think about, what does that reconciliation look like in a given day in a refugee's life, having gone through some really serious stuff? It just means, how can I be there and just be kind? How can I pick you up and can we go for a walk? They've just been through Ramadan. We've tried to be sensitive to that because everybody's been fasting and they're miserable by 5 p.m. They've got headaches and they're tired and they just, but yet they still have to go to work or they need a ride home. And it's just an interesting thing. So we've had some really, really neat situations happen. I took a husband and his 3 boys out one day walking on one of our nature trails. And he had been a very kind of tight-lipped sort of fellow, very kind of toughing it out, had worked for the embassy as a mechanic in Kabul, and was not well educated, came here, has no English, trying to find work. And we went out on this hiking trail, and I started just running in front of his boys, and I jumped behind some trees and I yelled, "Find me!" And they tried to find me and they're laughing, and the dad is kind of scowling. They finally find me. I yell, they jump. Then the next boy says he wants to do it. So we start this whole thing around this 2-mile trail. And wouldn't you know, right towards the end, the dad yells, "Find me." He heard my word and mimicked my word. And the kids had the greatest time, and he really had. And it took us like 10 minutes to find him. It was just something crazy like that. And he was smiling the rest of the time on the drive home. He was happy. And, it's just simple things like that. You say, God, just give me the creativity to love these people. So we've taken them out, play soccer with some of our kids. We just drive by the house and say, can your boys come with us? You know me enough. You trust me. I'll show you on my cell phone where we're going. Yes, you can take them. So it's just saying, what would I want if it were me and I was in that situation?
Yeah. Wow.
So we've had lots
That's
of those
amazing.
kind of things.
What a great story, Ted. That's great. Very cool. Anything else, Joy, to share before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I was going to just say, like, thinking about what Ted was sharing, so much of this is just ministry of presence. It is just being in people's lives. And in the Afghan culture, hospitality is absolutely critical. It is a key component of their normal everyday life. And so, part of it is just being willing to spend the time to sit and to drink the tea and to try the unique food dishes, and to listen and to navigate that awkward, I understand about every 4th word, and we're doing hand motions and we're trying to, and it takes effort, and it takes a willingness to put yourself in that situation. But one of the things that we're doing at Dumfries is we're pairing families. So we're pairing a Dumfries family with an Afghan family. Yeah. And the idea just being that, it's just someone that can be there for them. And, there are so many logistical needs that most of them don't have. They maybe have an extended relative or 2 that are, maybe somewhat nearby, and that's part of the reason they're in the area. But they often, the relatives haven't been here that long either, and so they're super focused on getting their own families squared away and taking care of their own families. And so simple things like rides to the grocery store, or I took a couple girls, I took the one little girl, we've done all of their like school shots and like gone to the, just taken them to the doctor or this
Yeah.
appointment or that appointment or to social services to fill out paperwork and just to serve as a trusted friend that they can look to and help, explain things simply in a way that they can understand. And
Right.
yeah, I think just, we were talking earlier about how do you even find them? Like, we are so thankful that we have found these families. I would say between both churches, we're probably engaging with about 13 or 14 different Afghan families.
Okay.
And there's plenty more. They're out there and they're coming still. There's still people coming. And so I think that, the need is there. Just have to keep our eyes open to see them and to be willing to have that awkward, hi, are you, I mean, Ted does this the best, but, hi, are you from Afghanistan? Like, it's where once the thing about Afghans too is every single family, as soon as you make an effort to get to know them just a little and to say, I'm willing to try to help you. Now, I don't know what I can do, but I'm willing to try. You're part of their family as soon as you do that. Yeah. And they're just thankful to get to know you and to have a friend, whether or not you can do anything for them. Right. And that's just been, I mean, I can't even tell you how blessed I've been just to be able to spend time with them, to learn, number one, the culture and the food and the customs and all of that has been so fun. But they really love well. They love you like you're part of their own family. And so that's just a blessing on our end.
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly saw that. I was in Afghanistan in 2012 and was able to be in just a few homes and other situations where I got to see the hospitality of the Afghan culture, and it's amazing. It is certainly something we could all learn from, to understand their hospitality and to reciprocate and show hospitality here. Christ tells us to do so, to love the stranger, to love the sojourner. And so, so thankful for you guys. Thank you for taking some time to share. I'm sure we could sit around and drink tea and share stories for a few hours. But thank you for just informing us a little bit, wetting our whistle for what's going on. And if you've been watching this, I would encourage you to stop now, whatever you're doing, just stop now at the end of this video and take a moment to pray for these families. I know you don't, many of you won't know them by name, but just pray for them and then pray for these churches, these Christians who are attempting to love them well and to minister to them. Thank you so much, guys.